Awesome. So when we interview people to come that want to come work with us, partner with us, you want to understand who you have in the room with you, right? So I'm a motivational speaker like all of you. All of you are in this line of work, so you are automatically a motivational speaker because your job is to get people out of their bed, get to the workforce, quit being lazy and all that type of stuff, right? So inspiration, though, this is the key. If I'm a motivator, you remember the circus, the guy who spins a plate? So if I motivate you, I'm motivating you. I'm spinning that plate, but guess what? I got another client. I'm motivating him too. I'm motivating all the way down to the 10th plate. What happens to the first plate I motivated? It's level, it's slowing down, it's wobbly. I got to run back to that individual and re-motivate him again. See, now I'm Dr. Phil in his life. See, our job as instructors, as facilitators, as directors, is not to be that Dr. Phil in their life. Our job is to be that inspiration in their life. You see, if I motivate you, that will only last for a little bit. You'll be excited. How many been to a concert that you love, that you were so impacted by that concert you went to, you had to buy something because you experienced the moment in your life that you had to walk home with something. But now you bought that t-shirt or you bought that hat or you bought that gift, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks go by, you never touched it again. Dang it, I spent $40 for that t-shirt. Right? So, but inspiration is this. The power of inspiration is what somebody does tomorrow because of what you do today. That's inspiration. What somebody does tomorrow because of what?
What I do today.
What I do today. You didn't speak to them. You didn't introduce yourself to them. They saw something in you that inspired them to get up and move. Because you walk into a room and people look at you and they say, I want what he has. I want what she's got. How do I get that? And that's where you start teaching. Because our job, and I'm going to turn over the mic to Kathy but here's your job, your main job. How do you measure success? How are you measuring your success? How we measure success is this. If you come into my workshop or you come into our classes, you come with already a bucket full of intelligence, knowledge, and wisdom and understanding of the things you know. And I have a bucket full of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding things I know. My job is to give you everything I have so that when you leave my sphere of influence, you leave better than who?
Me.
Than me. So how do you measure success? Because you become better than me. That's how you measure success. And if you're not measuring success on that level, then you're like a cloud without rain. Because now what are you giving? Fluff? Are you not empowering? Are you not really? Remember, your job is to have people become better than who?
Me.
You. All right.
Yes, this is my man. So I am the process person and he is the motivational person. So every time he hands the mic to me, you're going to be like, oh. And I just want to let you know, it's okay. It's the role I play. So Ron and I have been doing this work for 25 years. First, if we think back even further than that, rescuing our own family. And then going from that to seeing all the other families in the prison visiting rooms and just having this like passion and desire that, you know what, their kids matter as much as my kids. And so I'm sitting here doing everything in my power to make sure that my kids are connected to mentors, to make sure that my kids don't end up in a prison, to make sure my kids don't end up on poverty. But how dare I want more for my kids than I want for your kids? Mm-hmm. And so as we began to implement and fight so hard for our own family, that was the structure we built to found the Ridge Project and to begin to help other families. It's like, let me show you what we did. Let me show you what worked for us. Let me help you make the connections that I needed in order to become successable. So today we're going to talk about our 5-step process for fathers to actively engage. So here's the objectives, and you can get this. I'm not going to really read over this, but as we go through, we really want to talk about why does this matter? When Ron was in prison and I was on welfare, I remember the day I decided to get off of welfare. I started doing any odd job I could because I had a son that had asthma. And now we know there's a huge correlation between incarceration, having incarcerated parents, and having asthma. I did not know that then. I only knew that my son had severe asthma and we would constantly end up in the hospital. He was allergic to everything. But it was also probably not just the allergic reaction, but also the stress, the social, emotional, mental, even say it, spiritual. And so it was hard for me to hold down a regular job. So I cleaned offices, I cleaned apartment complexes, I cleaned repos, I cleaned horse stalls, like whatever I could clean to make money. So one day I thought, you know what, if it's scary to get off of welfare, but if I don't just do it, I'm always gonna tell myself, don't make that much money because your food stamps are gonna go down. I'm always gonna have this battle of, oh gosh, well, I have to stay here so I don't lose my benefits. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, but it was like, okay, this fine line that I was walking, I was like, okay, I have to just make the plunge or I'm going to raise my children on welfare. And my sons are gonna then understand to keep the bar low so that I can continue to be somewhat dependent and only be half independent. And I'm like, okay, I have to set the standard. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. So one day I said, okay, so I went up and I said, hey, I want to sign up. I don't want to get any food stamps. The only thing I need is Medicaid. Because I knew I still needed to have health insurance for my kids. So I don't want to get a check. I don't want to get food stamps. I'm going to sign off on that. And so the lady's like, listen, you don't want to do that. I said, I do, because look, when my husband first went to prison, I had a check of $373, plus I got another, like, I don't know what, $202 or $203 in food stamps. So I figured out I'm actually making more than that now. Like right now, I have $800 a month that I'm making, so that's way more than that, and I need to take the plunge. So I sign off. 2 days later, a CPS worker's at my house. And I was like, can I help you? And she says, yes, I'm here to do a home visit because we're concerned that you can't support financially your children. I said, oh, now you're concerned? Now you're concerned? Where were you the day my husband went to prison and we had no income? Where were you when I had to wait that 21 days to get food stamps or check? Nobody showed up then. And now you're concerned?
8 years later.
Yeah. So yeah, 8 years later, you're gonna show up at my house and tell me. Well, 8 years later is when I got Medicaid.
Oh.
So now I'm like, okay. And I remember that feeling of going to the grocery store and saying, okay, before that it was food stamps and I was high. I remember the day we got our food stamps. I'm telling you the story really quick. So the day we got our food stamps, because we had to wait, I don't know why, 21 days, because we'd had income, because he had been home. He had to be out of the house so long and no income, crazy rules. So this is back when they had those actual coupons, right? So I'm standing in line and I'm hoping nobody sees me, right? Pride's a big thing, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I hope nobody sees that I'm on food stamps. But my sons, I've got the food all around them, and at this point they're 3 and 4 years old, and my younger son had just turned 3. And I'm in line, and the guy behind me says, ma'am, as I'm putting my food on the conveyor belt. And he points to my son, so my 3-year-old's eating raw hamburger, and he's telling the person behind me, we got food stamps today. I'm like, no, right? Like, not only are you probably gonna get sick, but now you've announced it to the world. So I go home, so now fast forward, now I'm getting off of food stamps. So I'm standing in line and I'm telling the people around me, I got food stamps today. I got food stamps today, right? And I'm thinking, no one, and so I look at the cashier and I'm like, I am paying for my groceries with money I earned. I'm just letting you know that. She says, okay. But if you never experience that, you don't understand. You don't understand that pride of, you know what, I don't need it anymore. I am going to become and I'm going to do everything in my power. I got to the point where I understood if I fall down, I can reapply, right? Mm-hmm. I can reapply. I was like, wow, I can reapply. I can get back up, right? Helping our families understand that, it's a big leap, right? That fear of success, that fear of thinking I only have one shot. And am I really ready to take that one shot? It's like, no, you don't. I get a fresh shot every day. And understanding that hope is a big deal. So we want to talk a little bit about statistics before we go into the how. We really want to talk about the why. And again, you have access to this PowerPoint. So, you know, if you're just trying to quickly write down all these references, please don't get caught up there. So we'll quickly go through this. Marriage stats. This is really important because we see more and more how important marriage is. Have you guys heard about the success sequence on how to avoid poverty? Okay, it's new, huge, big thing. It's not new. It's always been there. And then the research came out probably a decade ago, but all of a sudden, like in Ohio, it's explosive, in Texas, it's becoming explosive. Everybody's talking about a success sequence. All these states are forming legislation to make sure that people are aligning and with a ton of money. I think Ohio, we're like, I say a ton compared to nonprofit. Typically, they're giving like $17 million to teach kids the success sequence and families and get them. And I'm a huge advocate of it, but I'm also like, hey, don't forget the people that didn't do it in this order, that need an off-ramp, need an on-ramp, right? So statistically, when we look at incarcerated men, they only have half the marriage rate of those that were never incarcerated and twice the divorce rate. So it's like really 25% or less of marriages. But they have the same parental rates as those that were never incarcerated. So they have these incarcerated men, incarcerated dads, have the same number of kids, but they have less stability in their own lives and for their children. So if we look at the success sequence, we call it DESC because, and if you go look it up, Brookings and I can't remember, but there's lots of, look at Brookings and then they'll link to the other, like 4 other researchers. Brad Wilcox was a big one of the research in the success sequence. So they say, okay, if you want to avoid poverty, it's like a 97 or 99% way to avoid poverty is first you get your diploma, then you get employed, then you get a spouse, then you have kids. And people that do it in that order are like 97 to 99% likely to never experience poverty. And we call it DESC, right? It's easy for us to remember that way. Diploma, employment, spouse, kids, DESC. If you look up DESC, you may not find it online, but success sequence, you're gonna find that. So it's like, okay, so we're looking here at families that are out of the success sequence. They're not disposable. And we are huge advocates. We're like, listen, these families are not disposable. You can't just say, well, hey, let's push a reset button and let's just start now and train people. You have millions of families that aren't doing success in this way. So our job is to disrupt those cycles of self-destruction and help them get on cycles of self-improvement. Not just for them, but for their families. Oh, let's do them.
All right. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to do a demonstration. How many want to make some money? Make some money.
Do I get to play?
Well, you can play the rules.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
I got 20 for you.
so Ron's got $20.
$20 is covering up my ones. You want to go, okay?
It's called a pimp payroll, pimp bankroll.
You have to remember that day when you went up to somebody and you had a big wad of money and you only have one big bill and the rest are all ones.
So this game, you're going to jump over this $20 bill, and not the short way. You have to jump over it this way, the long way. All right. So did everybody understand? You got to jump over it from here to there.
From here, this point to this point, or this point to that point.
And your toes, your feet, nothing can touch this. Both feet have to be off the ground at the same time.
Who can
You
do
have
that?
to land with both feet on the ground. We're going to put it on the floor. And what we're going to do is,
What was that?
For that 20.
See, in my world, you can only 25 push-ups.
Okay, so jumping over this, come on up and I'll finish telling you
All
the
right, we're gonna tell you the
instructions.
instructions. Come on,
Okay,
come on,
so-
puppy.
Okay. So you can't fall.
Okay,
Okay, if you fall, you're disqualified.
okay. My feet
And
together or apart?
it doesn't matter. And which side do you want to start on? Oh, that's right.
Do I need to face the crowd or?
How
No,
do you
no.
want to face the crowd?
But you jumping, you
Yeah,
jump.
Okay, all
I'm
right, so
playing
let's move it this
basketball.
way.
I
Okay,
can
all right. Let's move it this way so they can all see right here. Okay, so before I finish giving you instructions, I want to give the crowd a few more instructions. So our job, what's your name, sir?
Lawrence.
Lawrence. Our job is to cheer on Lawrence like he's our favorite team. right? Like Lawrence, we want him to win that $20 so bad. Because if Lawrence wins that $20, Ron's gonna give up all the rest of his ones to whoever he decides cheers the loudest. Okay, so you're gonna cheer so loud for Lawrence, you're gonna encourage him, you're gonna, root him on, okay, so that's gonna be your job. And so you're not gonna start till I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, jump, right? So you're gonna be cheering the whole time, and Lawrence, this is like, I believe in you that you can do this. So the rest of the instructions are, that before you jump, you have to grab onto your toes. You cannot let go of your toes the entire time. So you have to hold onto your toes the entire time that you jump. If you let go of your toes, you're disqualified. If you fall, you're disqualified. If you don't make it clear across, you're disqualified. So you can have like this, look, like this. You can do this way or
You
this
gotta
way.
grab your toes like this, ready?
Or this way, in or out of your knees, whichever.
But you cannot let go.
Yeah, your arms can be inside or outside your knees, whichever's more comfortable for you.
You get as
Yeah.
close as you want to this point right here.
Yeah, as close, I do it all the way up, because this is not that far, just come all, you can do it, Lord.
Remember, he can jump over
Do
me.
you guys believe in him? Do you believe in him? All right, go ahead and stretch it, let's keep cracking. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Okay, ready? Let me know when you're ready. Ready? 1, come on.
Okay, my own countdown.
You need to get closer, bro.
I need to build up for this.
Okay, so you're gonna count yourself, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
jump.
hold on, let me get my strategy.
Okay, yeah, get your strategy.
You cannot let go, you cannot
Okay,
fall.
wait, I forgot something, I gotta say that. Okay, Lawrence, I just need you on the recording to say this, so you understand you are a complete volunteer. You are not gonna hold Ron and Kathy T. Arena nor the Hilton Hotel. If you get injured or hurt in any way, is that correct?
Nope. This is a trick.
Wait, no, seriously, you are not gonna hold any of us responsible if you get injured in any way.
No, I ain't gonna get hurt.
Okay,
All right.
I
But
think
if you do, whose fault is it?
Huh?
If you do get hurt, whose fault is it? Because you're volunteering, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there, that's all I needed. Everybody heard it, right?
Come on, let's go.
Lawrence, Lawrence, go, 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 go. Ah!
Are you okay?
That was a joke.
All right, good job.
Lawrence, 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 Lawrence.
1, 2, 3, go!
I gotta get a good grip.
Okay, ready, jump.
Come on.
Lawrence, 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 Lawrence.
Oh, he went down, he went down.
That's 1, 2, 3, jump.
Jump.
Hold it back.
1, 2, 3, jump. 1, 2, 3, jump.
Time out, hold on.
Lord.
You said my toe, I can't grab my heels.
Nope, you gotta grab
No, you
your
have
toes.
to hold
I don't have no wheels though.
You can grab from the outside.
All right, come on, it's your last chance.
Last chance.
1, 2, 3.
Come on, let's hear it, let's go.
Ah!
Nice try. Anybody else?
I think we got the most athletic person in the room.
Yeah, that was a setup.
Anybody else wanna try $20? It's real.
That's one of your things you do.
In all of the time, which is why now, I say you have to jump.
So.
I've been doing this we've been doing this for a very long time. We've had 2 people that actually did it because they were able to somehow do a front flip over, hanging out with their toes.
You didn't say I
No, so we stopped letting them do that because that's even more dangerous to do here.
Exactly, yeah.
So liability is a big deal, so that's why we say only jump.
So what's that about?
Change the rules.
Yeah. The rules.
You led them to believe it was one thing. and
Oh,
then-
move the goalpost?
Whoa.
Oh. Yeah, we get that a lot in life, don't we? Right? But that's good. That's a whole nother lesson. I'm gonna write that one up. Sell that one in books. Okay, so what this is about is no matter how much cheering we did for the clients you work with, if they can't let go of their toes, it don't matter how much Okay, so I used to teach ABE in prison, adult basic education, right? To 60-year-old men who could not read, right? You guys ever hear of Lawbach? Right? So I was a Lawbach certified instructor, right? And teaching 60-year-old men the alphabet was almost impossible.
They couldn't let
They couldn't let go of their toes, right? So these families that we work with that are so fragile, so broken, so traumatized with all that they've been experiencing, they're holding on their toes. They can't get up to just see success. You see how important our work is?
So if all we're providing is housing and job skills training, our dads can't be successful because they're still hanging onto their toes. So have you ever had somebody say, oh my goodness, we've given them all this job skills training and it's all free, and they showed up for 4 days out of 4 weeks? Well, yeah, they can't look over their toes. Something that seems so easy to us, like, oh, we see that, yeah, that's easy to get across there. But if you're hanging on to your trauma, if you're hanging on, you feel hopeless and you feel like you don't have support in your whole life, you have experienced one challenge where the goalpost keeps moving and moving, you finally tell yourself, what's the point? It's not gonna matter anyway. Like, I'm gonna try, but I'm not gonna make it. What am I doing? And then everybody in their sphere of influence is saying the same thing to them. Dude, why are you even trying, man? Just stay here, just keep doing what you're doing, right? It was good enough for your dad. It's good enough for all of us. You think you're better than us? And so they may not verbalize that exactly, but that's a message that they're getting, and they give up because nobody's come alongside them and said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help lift you across this first hurdle to show you how you can do it. And now the next one, I'm gonna help you let go of your feet. And now, you might be a little bit afraid to take the jump, but let's take little steps. Wow, now look what you've done. Now look what you've done. But if we don't disrupt that cycle and we don't help people let go of their toes, they cannot be successful. They cannot be successful. So when people say to me, oh yeah, well, you know what? I got him a job and I got him housing. You know what? He blew it. I said, no, you blew it. You blew it. Because you didn't understand the type of support that they needed. And you didn't understand how to disrupt the way that they were thinking for all of these years, because practice makes what?
Okay, so we're gonna remove that word perfect from your vocabulary because this doesn't exist. I know, you're looking at me. It's
Oh, Ron.
I know.
Oh, baby, no.
Right, but that word perfect doesn't exist. But what does exist is permanent. So Kathy and I don't have a perfect relationship, but it's healthy and it's permanent.
I heard that.
Right? So practice makes what?
Permanent.
Practice makes what?
Permanent.
So now let's say it together.
Practice makes permanent.
Because what you practice negatively in your life for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? You talk about that generational curse, it becomes permanent. So a man who goes to prison who's done 4 or 5 numbers, have you met him? Professional convicts? The first number he got, or the first number she got, or the first times they got divorced, or the first time they were addicted to something, or whatever the thing is, whatever that trauma was, should have been an event in their life. You've heard the saying, one and done? How do you manifest that? How does that get activated? Because when you see that experience you're having as an event versus a lifestyle, oh, I don't think you feel me. When you've been on, how many generations deep have your family been on food stamps? Well, my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was on food stamps, and that's all we know is food stamps. That was 50 years when this started, right? Come on. How many people you know right now that child is going to be on food stamps if something doesn't disrupt this legacy? I know my own people, my parents, real quick story. My mom and dad were married 40 years. The year I came home from prison, 1 year after I came home from prison, they get a divorce. 40 years, right? And my dad calls me up. Hey, man, hey, Ron, man, Mom is filing for a divorce. I said, I heard, Dad, I heard. He said, well, give me some of that stuff you give those other people. I need it, we need it. I said, Dad, I talked to Mama. It won't work. So my brother father at this time, he's like 41 years old, and guess where he lives?
With mom and
With
dad.
mom and dad, right? I said, Dad, what you gonna do with Rudy? Well, I'm fighting for custody for him.
41?
Yeah, he was
So
joking.
he was joking. So I said, well, Dad, I'm glad you can laugh in this because this is gonna be a heck of a journey for you. But what happened was they started to reinvent themselves. They became friends in the midst of this process. 9 years later, they remarry each other in our church, in our chapel that we have. So my dad said this. I said, Dad, what? So he's telling us the stories. He's finally opening up. He said, I didn't want my legacy to be something that we threw away. I didn't want my grandkids to know that Dad was messing up and everything else, and he couldn't fix it. So I said, I had to humble myself. I read your book. I took your class. And I became Mom's best friend for the first time because they married out of duty. My mom was 16, my dad was like 18 or 19.
24.
Oh, 24, thank you. I was trying to clean it up.
I got you, baby.
But they had
But
my
in
first.
that time,
That's the culture, right? Holding on to your toes. How many of you right now in your room are holding? There's something in your own personal life right now that you can't let go. What trauma you've experienced? You're in this room because you've experienced something, and now you want to get back because you experienced something, and now you're still wondering, is this a lifestyle that I'm reliving in my mind, or I can't get past? Why am I always in debt? Why do I got the repo man coming? Why is my family the next generation of alcoholism? Whatever it is, the event in your life, it should have been an event in your life, not a lifestyle. And each and every one of us have this same story because when you begin to examine yourself, say, how can I make people better than me? Because I'm an open book.
Yep. Take everything I have, you already have, so now you have more than I have.
You have to be an open book to heal people, hurting people, hurt people. And when you can really be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I still got this in the closet, I need to get it out. You don't have to tell the world.
You just have to let go of your toes.
Let go of your toes, and that might mean, honey, that I need to get something off my chest. Right? One of the great things about being married Kathy for these 39 years, man, I don't have to wear a mask. Right?
Sometimes he doesn't wear pants. Now that the kids are all gone, I'm like, oh, put your pants on. I'm trying to get comfy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Can you delete that? Okay, so I do want to
Wow. Let me process that.
Sorry. Okay, so we're empty nesters. We live in the country in the middle of nowhere. I just say that. So anyway, so divorce and I just want to point at this first sentence because this is so important. I think sometimes we read research, and I know you probably don't as a researcher, but as practitioners, sometimes we see the research, or maybe even as researchers, and we're like, oh, wow, that's awful. Without putting a face to it, without putting families to it. And honestly, every time you read the stats on mentality, when we think about the brokenness of the families that are impacted by incarceration, which, poverty and incarceration are so linked together. And we just say it like it's nothing. And it's like every time I read these, I'm back in those prison visiting rooms with those families. I'm watching these kids walk out, and I'm watching these kids as they get older and older get harder and harder because the pain is so much, and the facade and the mask, because they're saying goodbye to dad, and then I don't see them for a little bit, because Ron was locked up for 15 years. So I saw kids come, I saw them grow up a little bit, I didn't see them, and then coming back and they're 18 and they're in prison. And it's like, how can you not sound the alarm? How can you not weep when you read this and think of faces and think of families?
Would you mind sharing the story when you were in, where you went to the lady, how dare you not sound the alarm?
Yeah. So all of this is in here, but I think this one is a big one for me. It's like if we start raising the standard and expectations, we live up to those. Because when I got surrounded by people that expected more of me and my children, I began to live up to it. I had a guy one time at church, I just let my kids go. I'm like, my husband's in prison for something he didn't do. I'm exhausted mentally, emotionally, socially, disparaged, like my family has been made disposable, and I was exhausted. So I just let my kids run wild. And one day I had a family, he had 4 kids of his own. He came in and said, Candy, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure. He says, get control of your sons. I said, excuse me? And he says, I'm saying this with love. If you don't get control of your sons and you don't start teaching them discipline, they're gonna end up in prison. He says, and I will say this personally, your kids running around acting wild, my kids wonder why they can't do the same thing. So watching your kids makes it hard for me to discipline my kids. I need you to help me with my family. And when he put it that way, I mean, it changed my perspective, because now it wasn't like he was just telling me, you're a terrible mom, your kids are welfare kids and you need to do something with them. He was like, wait, help me, we're in this together, we live in the same community, and I'm trying to raise my kids right. Can you, wow, thank God he had the courage to do that, because that community, that stigma, I was like, whoo, I can't do that anymore, right? Woke me up, saved my kids' lives. Okay. So same thing, like, look at this, like, the research goes on, and these are like old, like you just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it has to stop. So let me tell you really quick a story. So I was part of when Ron went to prison in 2000, we founded the Ridge Project, and we started it with prevention, honestly, to save my own kids. But then, other kids too. So we started doing prevention youth services, working with kids, and doing programming after school to engage kids in positive youth development activities. And they would come, they would cook a meal together, we would do activities, and we would learn what it meant to be ethical, responsible, honorable, homework help, whatever they needed, right? Well, I was on these teen task force in this one county, the juvenile, one of the ladies that was a juvenile probation officer, and she was there to give an update on what was happening in the county. And so she would often talk about, we was gonna call him Johnny, and talk about Johnny and how Johnny, his dad was in prison. She didn't know, that my husband was in prison, that I had 2 kids that were early teens as well. And so we talked about Johnny, and he's a mess, and we're trying to, and I kept saying, send Johnny to our program. Like, honestly, Johnny needs a stable family. And that was the environment we were creating. Like, okay, here's an environment, here's the standard, but it's in love, not in judgment. No, Johnny needs to go take this program. He's got to take that program. He's got this mandatory program, that man, and he keeps skipping program. Well, then send him to my program. I send him here. No. So, about a year goes by, and then she comes up and she's like, well, I'm just going to let you know, Johnny did fill in the blank crime, and he's going to get tried as an adult. And she says, I'm just going to say this right now. I saw that coming from the time that kid was 12. He's 17 now. So I'm standing there. She's talking to her group of friends. I'm getting ready to get my donuts, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I'm so mad. So I start to leave. Then I'm like, no, I can't leave. I turn around and I said, I have something to say. I could not help but overhear what you just said. I want to say this to you. How dare you? How dare you make a kid disposable? How dare you look at a 12-year-old boy and you know that destruction is all around him, and you don't throw yourself in front of him to keep him from running off that cliff? Instead, you stand back and you commentate his journey, and you add to it by not allowing him to go to programs that would have actually helped him. How dare you sit on this committee? And I left. I got a lot of phone calls later saying, oh gosh, do you want to run this? It's like, no, I don't want to run this. I'm busy enough woman running what I'm trying to run. But think about in your life and in your sphere of influence, how many people commentate, oh, this family, they're headed for this, that. It's messy, it's dirty. It's easy to say, throw yourself in front of them, but I'm going to tell you, it is hard. Because they don't want you there. How much do you love me? How many times are you actually going to stop me? How much do you really care? How much am I really worth it? I'm going to test every last bit of you before I actually change. But it is worth it. Every single kid, every single dad is worth the effort that you're going to put forth to rescue. And I hope every time after you leave here that you see a statistic, you want to bawl. I hope you see your kids' faces, your neighbors, your grandkids, and I hope you say, God, if I'm not there, cause somebody else to rise up and stop them. Because that's the only way we're going to change this.
So I'm in a prison working, and the group of men that we work with, they asked me to come in and speak to the administration. because they keep locking it down. You know, they got a new group of kids in Ohio. This about 10 years ago, a new gang was formed called the Heartless Felons. I don't know if they're anywhere else. You guys ever hear them? They're called the Heartless Felons. Felons.
18 to 22.
And these guys, it's just not one-on-one. It's 10, 15, 20 against one. They give it a group and they target a person and the whole herd of them attack that individual. And so this was a close security level 3 penitentiary. Tyros in this asked me to come in and speak to the administration because these guys are running wild. They keep locking us down. We don't get no more freedoms. And so I talking to the group of men, there's probably like 30 guys. We're having a meeting in here. And I said, it's your fault. And so they didn't expect that. It's your fault this is happening, Dad. The problem is you don't see them as your kids. You're allowing these kids to come into your house and disrupt it. Instead of taking charge when they come into your unit, you got to sit them down and you have to lay down the rules, just like we wish Dad would have done with us, or Dad should have done with us, or maybe Dad did with it, but you rebelled too much and you didn't listen. So now you get a chance to see them as your own children instead of another inmate or a convict or another mess that you don't want to clean up. The administration is not going to do anything about it until they see you do something about it, because they don't live here. You do. And the moment you get to really, and I had a mentor when I was incarcerated. I'm in a place called Allen Correctional, it's in Lyman, Ohio, and I'm leading the chow hall. One of my mentors came up to me, and it's another inmate, and he said, TJ, they call me TJ. He said, TJ, what do you see? And I looked across the yard, and there was a guy on top of another guy, just bam, 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 just beating this pulp up. I said, oh man, I see a dude getting kicked. He said, until you see yourself getting kicked, you'll never get it. See, that's with society. What's going on over there? Don't worry about it. Got nothing to do with us. That problem comes closer. What's going on over there? Don't worry about it. They're going to do this. Here comes the problem. It's coming closer. Now it's closer to my house. What's going on over there? Man, they're only 3 houses down. It was a year ago we saw it happen. And you should have done something when you first saw it. But because you didn't want to sound the alarm, now you're looking for help and it's in your front door. Because what comes around
Goes around.
right? Now we know that cliche. Birds in a feather,
Locked together.
right? So like-minded people attract like-minded people. To bring changes, oh thanks. Okay, so this is up here. So to bring changes, you got to understand, how do you activate someone that to let go of his toes, stand up, now what? Okay, I let go of my toes. Mr. T, what do I do now? I said, okay, so now it's time to get dirty. It's time to go to work.
Work hard.
It's time to go to work. See, a lot of these guys have this, what we call, so I was sharing back there that I was in Las Vegas and we were at a Herman Cain fundraiser. You guys remember Herman Cain? So we get to meet Herman Cain. I get to sit with him and talk to him, and he's telling me about his business and stuff. And but before we went into this meeting, and I'm a Christian, so I was praying, because I never been into this type of environment. It was intimidating, right? This guy who owned this house, you know, he owns so many pharmaceutical companies. He builds Lear jets. We're going into his domain, right? We were just invited as guests, and so we're there. I'm like, okay, Lord. And it's a fun. I said, they're gonna ask me what I do for a living. What do I tell them? And what we do is we attack the culture of the entitlement mentality by way of fatherhood, healthy marriage, and workforce development. Say that. What do you do for a living? We attack the culture of the entitlement mentality. Say that. We attack the culture of the entitlement mentality. No, I don't think you feel it. I don't think you get it.
Okay, but really quick, I'll give you an example of entitlement mentality right here. So Ron goes to prison, I'm driving around, and I'm living in a dilapidated, I almost called it camper, but camper would have been better. Mobile home in the middle of the country.
I didn't know what
Tires on the
was.
roof, right? A straw around it because pipes kept freezing. I mean, it was a hot mess. Mushrooms growing that I had to keep putting bleach on around my bathroom tub. It was a mess. So I would drive by and I would see houses. I'd see like farmers farming, and I'd see that they build a new house and they have a house there. And I would say to myself, they don't need that second house. They should just give that to me, right? And then I'd drive and I'd say, oh wow, you know, so I know this person's got a lot of money and they bought a new car, and I'd see them a car. So why are they selling that car? They should just give that to me. I need a car. Don't they see that I need this, right? And they have more than they need. They should just give that to me, right? Legitimately, that is what I would think all the time. And I would think, Lord, just touch their heart to give that to me. Touch their heart to give that to me. Well, then as I began getting off of welfare, I began actually working hard. Then I started thinking, okay, how much do I have to save? How hard do I have to work so I can buy a car? What do I need to do so I can buy my own car? What do I need to do so I can buy my own house, right? And at first I was looking at, again, dilapidated houses. Okay, I could fix that up. I only have to raise $20,000. I could buy that house. And then my boys and I, we can work on it before Ron gets home. So then I started dreaming a little bit. Then my dreams got better. My dreams got bigger. The harder I worked, the better jobs I got. Got my paralegal degree and then got more money.
So in this process, real quick, I became the CEO of our family. What does CEO stand for?
Chief Executive Officer.
Not when you're in prison.
What does it stand for, baby?
Chief Encouraging Officer.
All right.
So then he would be like, go, baby, go, baby, go, right? So he comes home then, and praise God, I was able to buy a house, like a solid house that didn't need to be completely gutted. And he came and said, wow, you did it. I said, you told me I could. He goes, yeah, but I hoped you could.
If your dreams don't scare you,
So I stopped waiting on somebody else to do it for me. That's the entitlement. Somebody else is gonna do it for me. And that is not gonna get you very far.
now how many clients are you working with? They're still waiting for you to do it for them,
Yeah.
right? If your dreams don't scare you,
They ain't big enough.
you're not dreaming big enough.
Yeah.
This is your job, is to help people understand how to dream again. Hope is a powerful weapon.
So I will say our number one outcome across the board of all of our programs is hopefulness. And so I was like, okay. But then we had a researcher come and talk to us and said, hey, he worked for James Bell and Associates and then started his own company, Murr. And he said, you don't understand the power of hopefulness. The power of hopefulness. You are not going to make any change that is long lasting without hopefulness. That's the predecessor, the predictor of lasting change is your hopefulness score. And he said, so increasing that hopefulness score, now let's track some other stuff. And then we're like, wow, low risk inmates, incarcerated people, low risk, 0 recidivism if they completed our program. Medium risk, like 2%. High risk, which normally have like 60, 70%, 12% recidivism. He's like, this is remarkable. And that's because you've inspired what?
Hopefulness.
Hope. So we're
Okay.
gonna keep you, remember I'm a foodie, we're gonna keep you on
Okay,
that. So we're gonna go over this.
people ask, okay, so why does your program work?
And these are the components,
Right.
whatever program you're using, that if you really want to help people let go of their toes, this is what you need to do.
Right, this is a foundation, whatever you're bringing, right, you gotta help understand that, how do you get people off this cycles of self-destruction? The cycle of self-entitlement mentality, right? Generational cycles of poverty,
Hopelessness, learned helplessness, disrupt it.
right, so we wanna disrupt it. Now, you look at this up top here, this is normal. All of us have experienced this in one form or another. Maybe you lost a loved one, maybe you got fired from a job, maybe you got a divorce, maybe something traumatic took place, or you witnessed something, maybe somebody killed themselves. Whatever it might be, this is normal for everyone. Say that, normal.
Normal.
This down here is learned behavior. Say that, learned behavior. Say it again, learned behavior. This is normal. We don't have to be taught this, but down here we have to be taught this, right? So here, say you had a job for 20 years, and all of a sudden they say the job's over. You ever experienced that? Where I'm from, we have a lot of GM, we got Chrysler, we got Ford, we got tank plants, we got everything, and people get shocked when they've been there 20 years, and all of a sudden they say, sorry, you no longer have a job. They go through what is called shock. What? I was just getting ready to retire. Sorry, no pension, right? All this, whatever happens, shock. Then you go in denial. No, I'm gonna get called back Monday. Right? Come on, no, they're gonna figure it out. Denial, right? I've been indicted, right? I'm looking at 15 counts. What the heck? Shock. Denial. No, this ain't gonna happen, man. This is all a lie. They're making it all up, right? Anger. This is where people mess up. This is what happens to our people that work with. This is all good stuff now. Understand this.
If you go through it.
If you know how to go through it. Now, anger, if you get stuck in anger, how many people know always angry? Nothing good to say. Anger turns into what?
Bitterness.
Bitterness. And bitterness turns into rage. Come on, road rage just don't happen because I did not wake up in the morning and say, you know what? When Kathy's on the highway, say I didn't know her, I'm going to show up at 9, 10, 56 seconds. When she hits the intersection, I'm going to cut her off. And then she'll get mad, go into road rage. It doesn't happen like that. What triggers somebody to go into road rage? If you put enough pressure in a pipe, what happens?
Burn.
Boom! Just the camel that broke its back, right? So anger, then grief. Grief is a when hospice is activated, when you lose a loved one, they walk you through this process. Hospice helps you heal through this process. So your grief doesn't turn into depression, and your depression doesn't turn into suicide. The process. So, but if you can walk people through this, Kathy, or somebody, my husband just went to prison. You see, in a courtroom, in a court of law, you got your judge, you got your jury, you got your prosecutor, you got the defense attorney, and you got the perpetrator, and you got the victim of the crime. Everybody leaves except the forgotten victims.
The family.
The family of the perpetrator or the one who was found guilty. Everybody leaves but the forgotten victims of crime. There ain't nobody there to walk that family. Yeah, your dad just went to prison. I know it's a shock to you. We're going to help you walk through this process. See, if dad was dying, hospice is activated. Where's hospice for when somebody goes to prison? There is none. So then grief happens. I can't get off of welfare. I can't get up in the morning. I can't get my kids together. My son's now in county jail. My daughter's now living on the streets. And my other grandchildren, whatever. But then they come to a place of acceptance.
So this is a pivotal point. If you're doing programming and you really want to help people and you want to help them get rid of hanging onto their toes, it's crippling them. At this point, you get them to the acceptance. Instead of they can choose like acceptance, this is my lot in life. Woe is me. Just like my dad, my granddad, everybody around me, nothing good ever happens to me. Life is just one succession of trouble after another. You don't understand the abuse. You don't understand the neighborhood. You don't understand the challenges. Okay, bad things have happened to you that you had no part in making a decision. And that's awful. But you've also made some really bad decisions out of your pain and out of that victim mentality that have now magnified and multiplied the negative effect. And if we can think, and I'm not just a victim and life doesn't just happen to me, and instead I'm empowered, you know what? Practice makes permanent, not perfect. Because if I have to be perfect, it's too late for me. But if I can change my behavior and create something else permanent, oh boy, now I'm empowered. So we look at the victor mentality says, you know what? I can make different decisions. I can change the course of my life. And so that's the first part of recognize. Recognize bad things have happened to me, but I have to also recognize my part in the decisions I made after that.
So this is when you begin to own your story. No matter how ugly your story is, guess whose it is?
Yours.
Mine.
Man, come on. And when you begin to own your story don't own you.
So then that ugliness is just a chapter. That ugliness, just a chapter in your story. So you say, and then next chapter, look out, right?
When I was in prison and I started to become conscious, waking up, right? And I woke up and I felt the prison wall. I said, holy cow, this thing's solid. And I'm looking at it, I said, man, I got 3 meals. I got your black and white TV. I got rec. I got a gymnasium. Hey, I got electricity. I got hot water. This ain't too bad. Dang, if I can do all this while I'm asleep, can you imagine what I can do now that I'm awake? You see, I recognize. I met people who came alongside me and they say, look, okay, yeah, you're innocent, what you did and all right. They say you did all that, okay, well, it doesn't matter, TJ. You're here. Now what? You can keep fighting your case. You can be bitter. You can be angry. Now what? So I had to make a conscious decision. Okay, let me own my mess. Because they couldn't take me at my word. Oh, I don't think you feel me. My word was doo-doo.
I'll vouch for that.
It was doo-doo. So I said, okay, you know what? All right. Because when I was walking the yard one day, I'm praying. I said, Lord, I'm not a rapist. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a bank robber. Why am I here? And then it was open to me. How many of you guys ever been at the job site and you're on the factory floor and you told the foreman, I got to go use the bathroom, but you really didn't have to go? Because I didn't want to what?
Work.
I didn't want to work. You're a thief. How many guys, when the electricity bill came in and you didn't pay it, and then they sent you the pink note, if you don't pay it, we're going to turn off the power, and you come home one day and you turn on the light switch, it didn't work. What? I didn't take them at their word. You're a thief, because now I was stealing from my family. So I was revealed to me everything that, the truth about me. Why couldn't people take me at my word? Because your reputation precedes you. All right.
Okay, so after you recognize and you own your own story, now you begin to renew the way you think. And so we help people say, okay, here are the challenges, but in the midst of every challenge, there is an opportunity. So you share, listen, I faced this challenge, and you know what? I could not even imagine that there would be an opportunity in it, but there was an opportunity in it, right? And so you say, okay, what's the opportunity? The opportunity is, okay, I'm really good at sales. Or you know what? I'm really good at, and you help them identify where is their opportunity even in the midst of the challenge. So they're renewing their mind to say, okay, you know what? Life doesn't just happen to me, and people that are successful because they're doing something different than what I'm doing.
Mike Wolfram, real quick client, Mike Wolfram. 3 prison numbers. His last prison number, he comes to our program in a high security prison. Took him through this process. What are you good at, Mike? Well, I'm not good at selling dope because I keep going in prison. Okay, we've already determined what you're not good at. But you're an entrepreneur, Mike. You like business. You like the hustle. You like that. So let's figure this out. What Mike didn't know is he was a quick study. So when he finally got out, he got a job working in an airport, a small one. He know nothing about it. He's made 3 prison numbers.
Making minimum wage.
Making minimum wage. And he learned how to fix their engines. He had I don't know what you call it. He just had a gift, an aptitude about motors. Today, fast forward, 17 years later, this year he's going to make $200,000 because he's a head maintenance man at General Motors.
So, and he said,
right?
He said, Ron, the challenge was nobody would hire me. I didn't want to take a minimum wage job. I didn't know anything about engines. I didn't know anything about that. And then I got there and the opportunity opened up because I refused to give up. So renewing the way that you think about your circumstance. The next one is rebuild. Because first thing you got to rebuild, you got to teach them to rebuild is their reputation. And that means high accountability.
So in
because
the meantime,
it's easy to lie.
It's your reputation. Watch this. Your reputation is on the line. These are your clients. So here's what you tell them. Okay, you're going to complete my program, and you have no reputation because your word on the street is what?
Doo-doo.
Doo-doo. But I'm going to let you borrow my reputation because you're signing your seal of approval on them. You're putting I don't think you feel me.
Oh, I feel you.
This is why accountability is so crucial. You're sealing your name on them. And you have to tell them that. Look, man, I'm going to let you borrow my reputation, so don't
Mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Right? Don't mess it up. Until when? How long?
Until you build your own.
Until they build their own.
Because they come out and you're like, use my name to get in there. Tell them I sent you. Write my name down as a reference. Pretty soon, now they've built their own, and now they're telling the people behind them, hey, use my name. You don't have to use Ron's name anymore. I work there. I can get you in, right? So rebuild. First, their reputation, their family, then every bridge that they burned.
Oh.
That might be in their community, with their friends, with their family. So many stories of people saying, I wasn't even invited to family events. Nobody wanted me there. And you know what? My mom and dad gave me the key to their house and said, hey, will you watch over my house while I'm on vacation? because they rebuilt that trust. Then now you're reinventing yourself. No longer are you this broken victim that life happens to you.
And this is gonna happen again to them, but now listen, this is what we're gonna always experience, because things are gonna happen.
Right.
But now they have I don't think you want to hear this one. You see, before I went to prison, let me ask you this question. So what's your name?
Ron.
Ron, okay. Ron,
Good name.
Ron, if you got bit by a rattlesnake, Ron, what's the cure?
You're supposed to cut it and have
Suck the
somebody
blood.
Okay, something like
Take a joke about
So,
that
you don't
later.
get out.
Florence, if you got bit by a cobra, what's the cure?
Pray.
Reuben. Reuben, if you got kicked by a Reuben Santiago, right?
Yeah.
What's the cure? If you got kicked by a coral snake, what's the cure?
I'm gonna say pray too.
All right, let me
All right,
catch
all
it.
right.
All right, so if I got bit by the anti-venom, thank you, the anti-venom. But where does that come from, sir?
Exactly.
Oh, my
The
goodness. Wait,
same
wait.
poison.
Are you saying the same thing that is killing me is now got to become the cure? Okay, so now here's what you teach these people you're working with. See, I used to be that snake spewing venom everywhere I went. Didn't know it. I thought I was all that in a bag of what?
Chips.
My chips were.
Edible
I
Cheerios.
thought it was all that.
Yeah.
But I was that snake spewing venom everywhere I went. Then I woke up. Now I got to become the anti-venom. I am the antidote. No longer the poison. And that's how you tell these people. So when you wake up in the morning, all of us have a choice. Either I'm going to be my best friend or my worst.
Enemy.
And you have to choose every morning. Wake up. Who are you going to be?
Every morning we tell our dads, I don't care how successful, we have multi-millionaires that started out coming out of prison. And Ron says, don't forget every day to strap up your boots, because it's a new challenge and a new fight every day. Do not lose focus. I don't care if day one you got out of prison, or you've been out of prison for 19 years. Strap up your boots every day. So now we've reinvented, because now you're ready to face everything and recover. No longer are you going to cower. You're going to face everything and recover. Now you're going to reinvest first in your family. You're reinvesting in your own personal, ongoing, professional, and personal development. Maybe you are, now you've been a participant. Now you are a facilitator. You've been a participant. Now you're a mentor, right? You're reinvesting the world around you. But first, you can't give from an empty bucket. Come on. You guys can't give from an empty bucket. Make sure that you are taking time to refresh you. You do not want to save the whole world and lose your own family. We have seen this too many times. Take care of you. Put your own gas mask on, not gas, oxygen, no gas. Put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Then you help other people. And sometimes you got to reset, turn off that phone and go on vacation and come back ready to help the next people. So reinvest first in you, your family, your community, and everybody coming
So
behind you.
I drive.
Then you do it again
I
and
drive
again and again.
a 2015 Town & Country. I inherited it from my wife.
Because he sold my car.
But so I inherited it.
And just tell the whole story.
Okay, it's her turn. All right, she was in New Zealand. I couldn't go to New Zealand because the U.S. said I could go. I wasn't on parole or anything. But see, guys don't understand when you got a felony.
Wait, you even got a
You
letter from the White House.
That gave me clearance to leave the country, right? I got my passport and everything. But New Zealand has a rule. If you serve more than 5 years in the United States prison, doesn't matter how long, when, doesn't matter.
For what?
Or for what? You cannot go in their country. And we got a problem with us, right? Australia, the same thing. Canada, if you got a DUI and you're driving a semi, it takes you almost a year to get clearance to cross that border.
No matter how old your DUI is.
No matter how long your DUI, you had it. You just
Okay,
can't-
so
but anyways,
we're almost
so Kathy goes to New Zealand. We have Tyro in New Zealand. Our program is there. And so I'm online, I'm teaching it. But anyways, Kathy's there and she's driving
Aspen.
an Aspen, Chrysler Aspen SUV, right? Big boy, right?
I
And it's got a
love
Hemi,
it.
right?
I
And
love
I got a
it.
great deal on it, so this guy comes up to me, I give him 10 grand for that SUV. $10,000. I'll make about 4,500 at it. My wife's in New Zealand. Hey.
And the car happens to be in his name.
Yeah. And so I said, bet. So she came home. I said, baby, I saw your SUV. I didn't tell her when we was on the phone. And so but we kissed and made
I
up.
said, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
No.
So
So then he says, don't worry, baby. I got us a great deal on a van.
On the town and country.
Minivan. I said, baby, my SUV with a Hemi to a minivan? Oh, baby, you're gonna love it. And I said, okay, here's the deal. When it's time for the next
I was driving the
new car-
Chrysler 300 at that
Yeah.
time.
I said, when it's time for the next new car, you get the van and I get to pick up the new car. And he says, sure. This was 2018. So then, 2024, I said, it's time for a new car. And he goes, oh, yeah, I've been looking at this. I said, oh, no, baby. No.
Not your turn.
So I drive
That's right.
a 2015, it's got like 280,000 miles on it, right? But it's getting rusted. Listen to me. But I gotta pull up on clients. And I can't pull up in a rusted bucket. Come on now. I see the rust. Man, I gotta get this thing fixed. Because why? If I'm trying to teach people financial freedom and I pull up in something that's rusted
Take
out,
care of what you have.
right? So I drive my kids drove it up that are here.
And nobody can believe this is important. Nobody can believe that it has almost 300,000 miles on it. Nobody. You would not know. Ron is meticulous about taking care of it. And his thing is when he tells the men he's working with, he says, listen, you're gonna find fault and flaw in everything. People are gonna let you down. We're gonna disappoint you. We're human. We're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna get something that's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna move into an apartment that looked amazing, and then something's gonna happen and you're gonna just dump and go. Dump and go. That's been your life. No more. You take it and you say, what's the diamond in the rough? I can manage through this. And on the other side of this, I'll be like, ooh, look at this. I'm driving a car almost 300,000 miles, but you can't tell.
And no
Because I take care of
payment,
it. And no payment.
right? No payment. So,
We got about 7 minutes.
okay, so in the past, Bo, guess what I would have done?
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Let it fall
Oh,
apart
no.
and get a new car.
In the past, the best I could do was a $200 Chrysler 1970. Right, not Chrysler, Cutlass Supreme 1970, that when you're driving, your eyes would burn.
And then
Remember those cars?
yeah, and Ron would say to me, don't worry, baby, your eyes will stop burning when the car turns off.
That was
Okay,
the best I could do. Okay, so that's what was that? Go back.
Yeah,
To reinvest, we talked about that. You reinvested, okay, I'm sorry, we did talk there. What can we do? Support, engage, educate, involve, mentor, connect. Man, what can we do? What can we not do? What are you willing to do?
Okay, so if you see this, I want to encourage you, this is a spoken word that my son did. I don't think we have time to show it.
I think it's 2 minutes. Do we have time to show that? Can you?
If it'll come up,
Let's see if we can get it.
let's see.
Control, click.
I mean, we can send the link. That's okay. I'd rather
Okay,
see
the
it on
link,
my
okay,
phone.
right.
Okay.
So Blake and Brandon came to visit me growing up, but there was a moment in our time in our journey that they said, Dad, we can't do this anymore. It's too hard. Dad, we can't do this anymore. It's too hard. We're not coming to see you anymore. I'm in Mansfield Correctional. This is around 1990, about 1993, 1994. And they're young, they're little, and they're like 9, 10 young men. We can't do this anymore, Dad, it hurts. So I'm on the phone with them and I had a plan. I said, listen, from now on, instead of saying goodbye, we're gonna start saying, see you next time. See you next time. See you next time. So the hugs at the beginning were, I couldn't pry them off me to where they wouldn't hold me. Till they started holding me again. Till they couldn't. They'd hold me again. But this roller coaster of love and disappointment and heartache and pain is real for every family you're working with. But if you're not seeing it and helping them navigate through it, I remember one time Kathy asked me, why don't you write the boys letters? Well, they don't write me back. They're only 5. Right? And it's all about who? It's all about me. Right? And as I think about my kids, Blake and Brandon, they grew up visiting me in the penitentiary. My job was to constantly pour into them. My son became, once he was the mayor of his town for a little while. My oldest son, my current son, he's on city council in his town. My oldest son got a baby on the way. He's got 2 kids. We got 2 grandkids with him. He owns his own business. He sells Pokemon magic cards, right? His own shop, doing really well. Works for us full time. Getting ready to launch. Real quick, my oldest son is getting ready to launch his own spice company. International spice company selling turmeric and all that other stuff with India. Our youngest son, he's a retailer,
Okay, Ron could talk about his kids all day.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about his kids, come on, give me in the hallway. But he has something to be proud of. 15 years of incarceration and raising sons from behind bars is no joke. It takes diligence and intentionality, but we want to challenge you. I hope that today, as you leave this workshop, that you leave here even more fixated on no more goodbyes for children anymore. But instead that the kids
See you
and
next
dads will be reunited regardless of what their pasts were, and help them to create a better future, a better, stronger legacy. It is our pleasure and our honor to be here today with so many amazing people that are doing such amazing work. So as we close out, on behalf of people that maybe don't even realize how grateful they are yet, I want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do.
We got time for one or two questions. Any questions or comments before we share something with you for the whole group for terms of the conference? Okay, all right. Anything?
Yeah, questions?
Yeah, so what was, so did your children, pretty sure, because I did 13 years of prison. Was there any trauma, did you guys have to go to like therapy or anything when you got out of prison to reconnect? Because it's a different, when you're in there, you can tell them anything, but when you're home, you gotta basically, now you're present. You know what I mean? Now you're present, so now you gotta earn their respect.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, you ain't over the wall no more. Now you here. Now you gotta reinvent yourself as a father once you're home.
Great question. Great question.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell a story as quickly as I can. So we did not. We had a ton. We were hyper involved in our church. We had great youth ministry and a youth pastor that did a great job of I'm going to say counseling and coaching our sons. We had an awesome pastor for us. But I want to tell you what set the stage really quick. So Ron came home from prison. When he came home from prison, he was home. The first night, big party. Second night, we had dinner. My son sits at the head of the table, my oldest son, because Ron's been gone, right? And so Ron comes over and says, hey, Blake, that's my spot at the table. He says, no, it's not. I've been sitting here for 11 years. You can sit anywhere else you want, Dad. This is And so Ron says, yeah, but I'm home now. He goes, I don't care. This is where I've been sitting. So, of course, how many of you know, like, mama means something? So I try, hey, move over there. Right? So Blake gets up, moves over there. He's 15 years old, sits down. So Ron sits. Well, then Ron's
This is the first time I came home.
So Ron's talking about all the things he's going to do: take the trash out, to clean up poop out of the yard, do this, do that, right? So Blake says, "Hey, can I be excused?" Sure. So we're still talking. We're so excited. It's the second night home, first real family dinner. Blake comes back in. Hey, Dad, I just want to let you know, I already took the trash out, picked up all the poop, checked the oil in the car, did this, did that. Hey, good night. I'm heading to bed. What message was he sending?
I'm the man of the house.
I'm the man of the house.
You gotta
We don't
earn your
need
spot
you.
now.
Yeah. So the next night, I'm making dinner, and I see again, Blake comes down early, sits in where? Same spot, like you guys were there, right? So Blake's sitting in the same spot, so I see Ron, and now I see, ladies, you'll know, I don't know, guys, if you know you do this, but women, we know they do this. So each of them, Ron walks over and stands next to each of them kind of peacock. Right? And I was like, uh-oh. So I'm standing there, and I just felt, honestly, God touched my heart and said, you cannot intervene every time.
Right.
You gotta just stay in the kitchen. I was like, stay in the kitchen? Right, okay. So I'm watching them, and I'm just praying, because I'm like, oh, Lord, we've been praying so long, and Blake has wanted his dad home so bad, and now they're gonna tussle. They are gonna have a fist fight. And I was like, God, please no, please no, please no, right? So Ron's standing there, and he's like, Blake, you're in my seat. And Blake says, no, move me, right? And I was like, oh, man. So Ron's standing there, and so and Blake's sitting, and he's just like looking straight ahead. He won't even look at Ron. And so Ron puts his hand on his shoulder, Blake flinches, and I see him ball up his fist. I'm like, oh, no. So I'm praying harder. So then Ron says, son, look at me. Blake turns around and looks at his dad. And Ron looks at him and says, listen, I am so sorry that you have had to be the man of the house since you were 4 years old. You should have never had to carry that. And you've done an excellent job. But now you get to just be the son. Let me take some of this weight off of you. You get to just be the son. And all the fight just left Blake. He sat there. I mean, he didn't cry. I cried. So he just sat there for like a minute. He just got up, and he moved to the side. Now, 6 months later, the Court of Appeals overturned Brown's release and Ron had to go back to prison, and he spent another 4 years in prison. I will tell you this, Blake never sat at the head of the table again.
Wow.
Even those other 4 years, he sat there, and he wrote a poem called The Empty Chair. Changed his life.
Right.
Dads have to understand their role as protector, provider, not enforcer.
All right, thank you very much.